Have you ever wondered what happens when church leaders, civil society groups, trade unions, and constitutional activists all unite behind one message? Well, that is exactly what is happening in Zimbabwe, and it is all centered on one issue: Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. Just when many people believed the bill was moving closer to becoming law, a powerful coalition has emerged with a very different message. Reverend Dr. Kupa Mtata, the convener of Sungano Yevanu, also known as the People's Coalition, says Constitutional Amendment number 3 cannot lawfully proceed without the direct approval of Zimbabweans through a national referendum. His remarks have reignited one of the country's biggest constitutional debates. Is this the beginning of a major legal and political battle, or simply another voice joining an already heated national conversation? Stay with us because this story could have significant implications for Zimbabwe's constitutional future.
To invite the Reverend Dr. Kupa Mtata to address us.
Thank you, Honorable Timber. Good afternoon, Zimbabwe. I will go to the point for the avoidance of any doubt. I hereby launch the new Grand Coalition, Sungano Yavanhu, Ubumbano Lomphakathi. I'm Reverend Dr. Kupakwashe Mtata, the convener of this coalition of the people of Zimbabwe, for the purpose of defending the voice of ordinary citizens in our country and defending our constitution. I also hereby launch Zimbabwe's Let the People Decide national campaign. That will be done in terms of Section 59 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe and is owned by every Zimbabwean. From now on, you may regard the coalition and the campaign launched. The people who are here and others who may not be here now come from organizations that underwrite both the coalition and the campaign. A detailed statement will be circulated naming them explicitly. The Constitution of Zimbabwe requires that the people of Zimbabwe shall decide through a referendum on amendments to certain provisions of the Constitution. The people should directly, through a referendum, not parliament, not politicians, not the president, the people. The Constitution is very clear. There is no ambiguity. There is no room for interpretation. There is no maybe or if convenient. The people shall decide. Let me repeat that. The people shall decide. And in fact, whether some do not want people to decide or not, the people shall decide. And yet, right now, some people are pushing hard to change the Constitution without asking the people. They are ignoring the Constitution in order to amend the Constitution. They are breaking the law in order to change the law. And all that to the benefit of a few individuals. We reject the pre-independence arrangement because we rejected the pre-independence arrangement because it excluded the majority. Now, we are back to the same problem. This is a crime against the Constitution and against the people of Zimbabwe. We will be arrested for this, harassed and smear campaigned, and worse. We are ready for that. That is why we are here today. Everybody believes in rules and guidelines, boundaries that guide how we live together, how we interact Churches have rules. Burial societies have rules. We get frustrated and angry when teams we supported the full Football World Cup are disadvantaged as a result of rules having not been observed fairly. We believe that rules must be as fair as possible. Rules, if enforced fairly, protect all of us from those who may want to use their superior power to take advantage of us. Rules tell us what we can expect. They make our collective futures predictable. Rules keep things in peaceful order. Rules, if kept, prevent the need to impose order through violence. A constitution is one of the most important set of rules a nation can have. It is the arrangement we make together about how power will be used in society. It says this is how we will treat each other. This is what leaders are allowed to do. This is what they cannot do. This is how we will choose our leaders. This is how we will remove leaders if they betray us. Without a constitution, order degenerates into chaos. There will be only the strongest person taking whatever they want and the weakest person suffering. There will be no peace. There will be no justice. Every nation needs a constitution. That is why Zimbabwe has won. That is why we are here today. A constitution is not a mere legal document. It is sacred. It is the covenant between the people and their leaders. We do not change constitutions of entire communities for the convenience of a few individuals. We do not change such rule books because a few people have decided to stay longer in power or to determine by themselves who should take over from them. We change the rules only when an overwhelming majority authentically agrees on reasonable grounds that change has become necessary for the good of society. The Constitution of Zimbabwe is the covenant between the people and their leaders. It says we the people agree to this. We created this together. No one and no group of people can change certain aspects of the Constitution without getting our true consent. Consent granted under any form of duress cannot count. This is not partisan politics. I'm here as a churchman, and I'm not dabbling in partisan politics. This is about respecting all members of the constitutional constituency. This is about keeping our word in the covenant of which we are part. Each one of us is a part. This is about honoring the agreement we made together as a nation. This is about the constitution being supreme, not the whims of politicians, not the hunger for power, but the law that we created together. In recent weeks, we have witnessed disturbing developments. As citizens, we have a responsibility to pay attention to how power is used by those with whom we have entrusted our power. We have a responsibility to speak when something is wrong. What we have witnessed is wrong, profoundly wrong on 4 counts. There is the procedural violation. We have watched a process that does not reflect the will of the people. We, the people of Zimbabwe, that are at the beginning of the Constitution. We, the people. In the past week, there's been minimal genuine consultation of the people of Zimbabwe on CAP 3. Proposed changes shall have been that should have been presented to the people for open discussion and consideration were pushed through government-owned media as a government resolution to which citizens were required to agree. Alternative views were refused expression. Dissenting voices were silenced. This is not consultation. This is propaganda. A second violation is the democratic one. The corruption of the parliament. When parliamentarians have been bought like goods in a market, This is not leadership. This is corruption. This is not the people's parliament. Our parliamentarians are supposed to represent their constituencies. They are supposed to listen to the people who elected them. Instead, many have abandoned their constituencies for personal gain. They have sold their votes. They have betrayed their mandate. This exercise renders our parliamentarians illegitimate. By their failure to represent their constituencies' voices, many parliamentarians have ceased to legitimately represent their constituencies in the people's minds. They and their CAB 3 endorsement are divorced from the will of the people they claim to serve. This is corruption, and corruption that destroys democracy. The third violation is that of freedom, intimidation and harassment. Some people who spoke against this bill were harassed, some were threatened, some were harmed. When people are denied the right to express their opinion contrary to the proposal made, that is not democracy. That is dictatorship. That is the suppression of fundamental human rights. Freedom of expression is not negotiable. It is the foundation of democracy. Without it, we have tyranny. The fourth violation is bypassing the mandatory referendum. It's a violation of the Constitution. We have seen the Constitution being ignored deliberately and systematically. Section 328 of the Constitution is crystal clear. It states that the people must decide through a referendum on certain constitutional amendments, and this particular constitutional amendment requires that. Not Parliament, again, not Parliament, not politicians, but the people directly through a referendum. The reason for this is also quite clear. Those in positions of power entrusted to them by the people, should not decide changes that effectively extend their stay in power without the people's true and direct permission. Consent under duress of any form cannot count as permission. To choose not to ask the people for their input through a referendum, as is clearly required by law, is disrespect of and contempt of for the Constitution and the people of Zimbabwe. This is not the will of the people. This is the power of incumbents forcing itself on the people. We face a lot of danger from this. The current process sets a dangerous precedent that threatens the future of our nation. If CAB 3 passes without a referendum, if the Constitution is violated with impunity, then in future those in power can simply decide to stay forever by seeking endorsement from their sycophants and claiming sycophants are the people. This way, those in power can turn Zimbabwe regressively into a monarchy, a dynasty running the country forever on the basis of an endorsement by bribed sycophants and coerced citizens. The signing of CAB 3 without a referendum leaves room for a future president to stay in power as long as they want without people's consent, by using the powers of the monopoly of state resources, the media, the security forces, the treasury. If CAB 3 passes in the way it is currently passing, it means a president no longer needs the vote of the people in order to stay in power. One only needs to be rich and have enough money, or have stolen enough money to buy members of parliament. Presidents becomes commodity that can be bought by the highest bidder. Sungano Yevano, this coalition of the people of Zimbabwe, rejects turning our highest leadership position into a commodity for auction and for corruption. We reject the taking away of power from the people and putting it into the hands of a few people influenced by bribes and threats. We demand back the citizens' voice and vote. We will not allow our nation to become another North Korea. to become an Eswatini. We will not allow it to become a state where citizens are subjects, not free people. By these words, ladies and gentlemen, we launch Sungano Yavanu, Ubumbano Lomphakathi, and we launch Let the People Decide national campaign. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Reverend Cooper. I would like to ask my colleagues if anyone would like to add a few remarks to what the Reverend has said. Honorable BT.
Yeah, just to say that I'm here representing the CDF, a proud founding member of our coalition, Sungano. We have been working together, as all of you know, since the 28th of October, 2025. So today is an important historic day that we have all managed to come together and formally launch our alliance or coalition. And I want to thank the church for agreeing to be the face of our new organization, because everything we do, we put the Lord first. And I want to thank my colleagues, Comrade Kisai, the comrades, Comrade Timber, and everyone who is here for the commitment to the cause of liberating the people of Zimbabwe, to the cause of defending our constitution. So as CDF, we are proud founding members of this coalition. And I have no doubt in my mind that CAP 3 will not succeed. They would have to kill us. They have to roll machine guns against our bodies. We will not allow our country to be stolen by Jigananda and other funny elements. We will die for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable BT. May I please ask Comrade Visai to speak on behalf of the DCP?
Thank you, Comrade Timber, and thank you, members of the press. Thank you, our convener, Reverend. Just to echo the words of our colleagues and comrades from the CDF, from the DCP, Sungano Evan, the unity of the people. The Constitution is very clear. The sovereignty power of this country lies with the people of Zimbabwe. The Constitution is also very clear in Section 328 that any fundamental change that relates to the office of the president, tenure of office, declaration of rights, must go back to the people. So this is why we have come together as members that you see here and other colleagues who are not here. We've heard the cry of the people that we must unite and fight as one and ensure that the voice of the people shall be heard. So we are launching this campaign. Let the people decide. Then who shall make a decision. And we've committed ourselves to ensure that this campaign and this struggle shall go on. It's not a done deal. We've heard one, it's a done deal. It is not a done deal, CAP 3. The people of Zimbabwe are the ones who are going to have to decide. And for the people, we have to be very clear. This is not just about politicians grabbing power. It is politicians grabbing power to ensure that the looting, the austerity, the neoliberal programs that we are seeing, which have entrenched a few oligarchs, whilst our hospitals do not have simple painkillers, whilst over 100,000 school children are not able to go to school, whilst workers are on starvation wages, workers' leader. This is the real objective, ultimately, to entrench dictatorship so that the few eat Rifarenyika, Vashomawaripo. So thank you, and we are committed to exercise our rights under Section 59 of the Constitution. The people have the right to protest, and as our comrade and I said, we are ready to do everything that it takes. And we call upon the people of Zimbabwe and other colleagues who are not here to unite with us as we defend the sovereignty of the people of this country. Thank you.
May I kindly ask Comrade Gorira to speak on behalf of the War Veterans Pressure Group?
Thank you. all protocol observed. On behalf of the war veterans, I really want to assure the nation that as war veterans of conscience, we are in the trenches together with.
The People's Coalition was officially launched with support from several organizations, including the Defend the Constitution Platform, the Constitution Defense Forum, the National Constitutional Assembly, the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions, the Zimbabwe Constitution Movement, and the War Veterans Pressure Group. Although these organizations come from different backgrounds, they have united around one common goal: defending Zimbabwe's constitution. Speaking during the launch, Reverend Dr. Kupa Mtata made it clear that his involvement was not about supporting any political party. Instead, he said his mission was to defend what he described as the agreement Zimbabweans made together when they adopted the constitution. According to Mtata, the constitution belongs to the people, not to politicians. He argued that it is a national covenant created collectively by Zimbabweans and that no government, parliament, or political leader has the authority to alter fundamental constitutional provisions without first obtaining the direct consent of citizens. Those comments immediately attracted widespread attention. At the center of Mtata's argument is one key issue. He believes Constitutional Amendment Number 3 should not proceed without a referendum. According to him, Section 328 of Zimbabwe's constitution requires certain constitutional amendments, particularly those affecting the tenure or powers of office holders, to receive direct approval from the people through a national vote. His position is simple. He says Parliament alone cannot replace the will of the people where the Constitution requires a referendum. If you are enjoying this report and want updates on Zimbabwe's biggest political and constitutional stories, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because we'll continue bringing you every major development as it happens. But Mtata did not stop there. He accused the government of violating the Constitution in 4 major ways. The first issue he raised concerns public consultation. According to Mtata, Zimbabweans were not given a genuine opportunity to debate or discuss the proposed constitutional amendments. Instead, he claimed citizens were largely presented with government messaging supporting the amendments while opposing opinions struggled to receive equal public attention. He argued that meaningful consultation requires open discussion where different views can be heard before important constitutional decisions are made. His second concern focused on Parliament itself. Mtata alleged that some members of Parliament had failed to represent the interests of the people who elected them. He claimed that legislators should remain accountable to their constituents and that public confidence in Parliament depends on representatives acting independently and in the interests of citizens. His third concern involved freedom of expression. According to Mtata, individuals who opposed constitutional amendment Number 3 have experienced intimidation and harassment. He argued that democracy depends on citizens being able to express different opinions without fear. In his view, open debate strengthens constitutional democracy rather than weakens it. Finally, Mtata returned to what he described as the most important issue of all, the referendum. He insisted that where constitutional amendments affect important governance provisions, the final decision should belong directly to Zimbabwean citizens. Not Parliament, not politicians, but the people themselves. That message has already generated strong reactions across Zimbabwe. Supporters of the coalition argue that constitutional changes should only happen with the widest possible public participation. They believe the Constitution represents the highest law of the land and should never be amended without broad national consensus where required. However, supporters of the government's position continue maintaining that Parliament has acted within the constitutional legislative process in considering constitutional amendment. Number 3, they argue that elected members of Parliament have debated the bill and exercised the authority granted to them under Zimbabwe's constitutional framework. This difference in interpretation lies at the heart of the current debate. Is parliamentary approval sufficient, or should Zimbabweans themselves vote directly through a referendum before certain constitutional changes take effect? Political analysts say this legal question may continue generating discussion long after Parliament completes its legislative work. Constitutional issues often extend beyond politics because they affect how future governments operate and how citizens relate to the state. That is why debates surrounding constitutional amendments usually attract such intense public interest. For many ordinary Zimbabweans, however, the discussion is much simpler. People want clarity. They want to understand what Constitutional Amendment number 3 changes. They want to know how those changes could affect the country in the years ahead. And they want confidence that whatever decision is ultimately reached follows both the letter and the spirit of the Constitution. Meanwhile, the People's Coalition says its campaign is only beginning. Its leaders say they will continue encouraging Zimbabweans to engage with constitutional issues and defend what they describe as the supremacy of the Constitution. Whether that campaign changes the political process remains to be seen. What is already clear is that Constitutional Amendment number 3 continues to divide opinion across the country. Some believe the proposed changes represent necessary constitutional reform. Others believe the amendments require direct approval from the people before they can legitimately become part of Zimbabwe's supreme law. As the national conversation continues, one question remains unanswered. Can Constitutional Amendment number 3 move forward without a referendum, as its critics argue it cannot? Or will the current constitutional process continue exactly as planned? That debate is far from over, and the answer could shape Zimbabwe's constitutional future for many years to come.